targeting U.S. goods on Friday, a response to the Trump administration's tariffs against European steel and aluminum. $3 billion worth of American products will be impacted by the tariffs, which have already gone into effect. European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker remarked earlier this week that, quote, the trade that we believe in is built on rules, trust, reliable partnerships. The United States' decision to impose targets on Europe goes against that. In fact, it goes against all logic and history. For his analysis, we now turn to Bart Chilton, host of Boom Bust here on RT. All right, Bart, these tariffs consist of a 25% tax on U.S. products like motorcycles, cigarettes, denim, corduroy jeans, bourbon, and whiskey. The list goes on. How will the average American worker who produces these products be impacted?
Well, they may be out of a job if it goes on and on. I mean, that won't happen right away. But the real impact of this on you is the longer term. You know, right now, things that are being impacted are just a couple of pennies here or there. But even some of President Trump's allies, members of his own Republican Party, Orrin Hatch from Utah, and Senator Isaacson from Georgia, who has Coca-Cola in his state, by the way, says, look, it's a couple of pennies here, a couple of pennies there, but ultimately you times that times billions and billions, it's real money. And so we're talking about the real impact on these large companies that employ millions and millions of people across the country. And if they're not doing well, then consumers aren't going to do as well, and workers aren't going to do as well, certainly.
Interestingly enough, Russia has also threatened to levy tariffs against the United States, with the country's economy minister saying this week that that U.S. automobiles may soon be targeted. How significant would that be?
Pretty significant. I mean, if you talk about all of the sectors in the U.S. economy, autos is one that really has a broad texture throughout the United States. 1.7 million workers in and around the auto industry. Autos contribute about 3 to 3.5% of our gross domestic product. So it's a huge deal. And increasingly, Anya, it's just so tough to tell. Back when I was a kid, you could tell if Mercedes was a German car, but now there's a combination between Daimler Chrysler and Mercedes. We just reported on Boom Bust yesterday about an agreement that's coming up between Ford and VW. So it's hard to really tell, if a car, where it's made now these days, and that could be an increasing problem as we look towards this tariff tit for tat.
Well, Bart, as you know, it's not just the EU and Russia who are responding to U.S. tariffs. Mexico, China, Canada have on U.S. goods, while interestingly, South Korea, Argentina, Australia, and Brazil have all placed limits on the amount of metals they will now ship to the United States. It seems this America First policy is translating into America Last, or Alone, I should say.
Well, it's America alone, but it may be America last as far as trying to start trade wars. I mean, it seems to me that, when we look at all of the nations, it's hard to even tell who U.S. allies are anymore. We've alienated so many of them. The president, calls them names. I think last time we spoke, Anya, he was calling Prime Minister Justin Trudeau of Canada very weak and untruthful. And earlier this week, he criticized German Chancellor Angela Merkel on immigration policy, which took some guts to criticize her on that, given what's been going on in the U.S. But the bottom line, it's hard to tell. And at the same time that we're alienating some of our allies, we are cozying up, it seems, to some that have been our foes in the past, like Kim Jong-un. So we'll have to see how this goes.
Well, when it comes to economics, it's very difficult to see where this goes. I mean, is there really a strategy for the Trump administration that would lead to benefiting the public? Where does this end?
There used to be this movie, you're way too young to remember it, but called Animal House. You probably heard about it. They say, well, you are double secret probation, which who knows what that is. Well, unless there's like a double secret strategy here by the president, he's certainly not articulated anything outwardly, and that's why I think Members of his own party are becoming increasingly concerned. He does seem rather impulsive. He also seems rather stubborn. But I have to tell you, this last week, and you're going to think this is an unlikely thing for me to make a transition to, but the business community stepped up on this family separation thing. They had an impact, and the business community stays away from a lot of these issues. The business community is starting to get really antsy on this trade stuff. And these are people who I think the president respects their opinion. I think to some extent he wants their approval. And so if they continue to get, their voices continue to get louder, like they did this last week on family separation, maybe some sort of organization to this trade and tariff talk could be figured out. I hope so.
And you'll be covering it on Boom Bust, of course.
Every day.
Tune in there to see the latest news. Bart Chilton, thanks so much.
Thanks, Anya.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content.